Compulsion of an irresistible force, Article 12, Paragraph 5 of the Revised Penal Code, Part 1. Paragraph 5. Any person who acts under the compulsion of an irresistible force. This exempting circumstance presupposes that a person is compelled by means of force or violence to commit a crime. Elements. 1. That the compulsion is by means of physical force. 2. That the physical force must be irresistible. 3. That the physical force must come from a third person. Before a force can be considered to be an irresistible one, it must produce such an effect upon the individual that, in spite of all resistance, it reduces him to a mere instrument and, as such, incapable of committing a crime. It must be such that, in spite of the resistance of the person on whom it operates, it compels his members to act and his mind to obey. Such a force can never consist in anything which springs primarily from the man himself, it must be a force which acts upon him from the outside and by a third person. U.S. vs. Elicanal. Example. In the case of U.S. vs. Caballeros, et.al., it appears that Baculi, one of the accused who was not a member of the band which murdered some American school teachers, was in a plantation gathering bananas. Upon hearing the shooting, he ran. However, Baculi was seen by the leaders of the band who called him, and striking him with the butts of their guns, they compelled him to bury the bodies. Held. Baculi was not criminally liable as accessory for concealing the body of the crime, Article 19, of murder committed by the band, because Baculi acted under the compulsion of an irresistible force. No compulsion of irresistible force. The pretension of an accused that he was threatened with a gun by his friend, the mastermind, is not credible where he himself was armed with a rifle. People vs. Sarup. Passion or obfuscation cannot be irresistible force. The irresistible force can never consist in an impulse or passion, or obfuscation. It must consist of an extraneous force coming from a third person. Basis of paragraph 5. The exempting circumstance in paragraph 5 of Article 12 is based on the complete absence of freedom, an element of voluntariness. A person who acts under the compulsion of an irresistible force, like one who acts under the impulse of uncontrollable fear of equal or greater injury, is exempt from criminal liability because he does not act with freedom. People vs. Lorino. Nature of force required. The force must be irresistible to reduce the actor to a mere instrument who acts not only without will but against his will. The duress, force, fear, or intimidation must be present, imminent and impending and of such a nature as to induce a well-grounded apprehension of death or serious bodily harm if the act is not done. A threat of future injury is not enough. The compulsion must be of such a character as to leave no opportunity to the accused for escape or self-defense in equal combat. People vs. Lorino, citing People vs. Villanueva.